Jeremy Hunt said an extraordinary thing a few days back. He said that if he were to vote again, he would now vote for Brexit. Now, to understand why this is so extraordinary, you have to understand what Jeremy Hunt knows about Brexit and the NHS. We had a paper just 2 weeks ago in The Lancet showing that Brexit hurts the NHS pretty much under all circumstances. During the referendum campaign, the chief exec of NHS England said, "When the economy sneezes, the NHS catches a cold." We are now seeing our economy getting hurt in terms of investment and growth, and we know that is less money for the NHS. The NHS is being damaged economically from Brexit. There is also, of course, damage in the form of the staffing of the NHS. It was warned during the referendum. A survey done on hospital leaders in the NHS showed 80% thought that it would be bad for NHS staffing. This is what we're now seeing, with 96% drop-off in registration of new EU nurses. Philip Hammond said recently, preparing for a no-deal Brexit, every pound spent on that is pound that you can't spend on the NHS. Even purchases. Half of the NHS purchases come from outside the UK. With the falling pound, that has added on their bills to the tune of nearly £1 billion, it is estimated. So Jeremy Hunt knows at this stage that Brexit is hurting the NHS. And with the NHS goes people's lives and people's quality of life that is dependent on the NHS. So why? What's his rationale? He said because he thinks the negotiators on the EU side are being arrogant. So because of that effrontery that he feels and the umbrage that he takes from that, he almost luxuriously decides that he would vote differently, knowing that the very thing in his care would suffer hugely and the people reliant on that would suffer hugely, and yet he would make this call out of pride. There is something darker, of course. We all know that as the NHS is increasingly privatised, that the NHS breaking and falling apart is a clear accelerant to that process, and Brexit is a clear accelerant to that process, particularly if it tees us up with the UK-US trade deal, where US healthcare companies and US insurance companies, so the providers and the insurers, all want a part of the UK market. So the extraordinary thing about Jeremy Hunt, who understands all the arguments of damage, going for Brexit, shows exactly what's going wrong with this government at the moment. Tensions with the EU over negotiations and the associated pride and the associated tabloid press is taking precedence in their mind over due pragmatism and due care of this country and the welfare of people in this country. And this is why we need to fight to pull it back. And this winter, we'll be putting extra emphasis on the damage being done to our NHS. So if that all makes sense to you, let's get together, let's build the case about how Brexit is damaging the NHS in particular, and let's get that out far and wide. And this must become a centrepiece of our campaigning now.